Good morning and welcome to the Morning Scoop for Saturday, February 26th. This is your daily Buckeye fix. I'm Tom Orr. The spring game is in 49 days. Yes, just 7 weeks away. The Notre Dame game in 189 days. The game against Michigan in 273 days. Today we're going to continue our series previewing spring football at Ohio State. Late last week, we looked at the defensive line. Today we're going to check out the linebackers. My guest today, once again, is Buckeye Scoop's Kevin Noon. Kevin, thanks for being here.
Absolutely.
So we're going to run through the same 5 questions for each of these position groups. So just all the same stuff I asked you about the defensive line. We're going to talk about some of those same things here with the linebackers. Let's start with the guy who has the most to gain this spring, either in terms of a chance to win a starting job, maybe just a chance to get into the rotation at linebacker this year. Who is that to you in this linebacker group?
Oh, there's a lot of names here, and the problem is knowing what the 5 questions are. I could be talking about guys that we're going to talk about here in 5 minutes. The name I'm most interested in seeing is, what can a guy who's played running back for the last couple years at Arizona State do at Ohio State at linebacker? And that would be Chip Trayanum. I'm intrigued by this situation of what he's going to be able to jump in and gain. I mean, the ceiling is so high. We don't really know. I mean, because you could sit there and you could look at guys like Steele Chambers, who's already emerged into maybe the best linebacker on the team. We've seen Cade Stover move from defensive line to tight end, now to linebacker. We certainly saw him make an impact in the Rose Bowl. He has a lot to prove. He has a lot to gain as well, but we don't know anything about Chip. We don't know what he's going to look like making that change. And he could come here and have that kind of Chambers or Stover immediate transformation and be able to step into that role. So I think that, we've certainly got a lot of names of guys that have, I think things are going to be pretty wide open, even though you have to kind of pencil Chambers, you have to kind of pencil Stover in as being main guys. I mean, they're going to be guys that have been injured over the last year that are going to be healthy. We remember how thin the rotation was by the end of the last season, but rightly or wrongly, I'm going to just say Chip Trayanum because I think that's the name I'm most interested in seeing, and I think that ceiling could be pretty high based on Ohio State's transitioning players from one role to linebacker success rate here as of late.
Yeah, he's an interesting case because you looked at what Steele Chambers did last year, moving from running back to linebacker, and that happened over the summer. So if you have, and he was an impact player halfway through the season and really maybe the best linebacker on the team by the end of the year. If you come in and you're coming in the spring, you've got all that time to learn and improve and get better. And yeah, that's I think going to be a real interesting thing to watch. I'm going to ask you later about the freshman who you're most excited to see. He's not a freshman, but he's a new guy, so he might be my answer there on that one for that exact reason. Someone else that I think might be kind of in this group is Tommy Eichenberg, because he was at the Mike last year. He sort of started the year, and then Cody Simon took over, and Cody Simon started most of the year, and then Cody Simon was hurt, had a shoulder injury, missed the Rose Bowl, and then Tommy Eichenberg played a bunch in the Rose Bowl at that Mike spot. I don't expect Simon. I don't think we've officially heard that he's out for spring, but if he had a shoulder surgery around the Rose Bowl, you'd expect he's probably going to be limited contact. They probably take him a little slowly coming back. This is a real opportunity for Tommy Eichenberg to sort of solidify, show the coaches what he can do, and maybe cement himself at least in that rotation at Mike. Because I think Cody Simon was probably ahead of him last year. This is an opportunity to maybe catch up and maybe pass Cody Simon a little bit before you head into fall camp. If Cody Simon is really not going to be full go this spring, so he's another person to watch there. Is there somebody for whom this is maybe a make or break spring? Is this a guy who needs to make a move this spring? Who's in danger of getting passed by guys younger than him? Who it's like this is it's not last chance you, but it's like if you're going to be an impact player here, this is your chance to really make that happen.
I have 2 names, and one of them came in as a transfer, and that was Palaie Naoteote, who just really, he didn't find out until a game week that he was cleared by the NC2A. He just did not have the opportunity to get a lot of reps with even the twos because they weren't sure if they were going to be putting reps in somebody who wasn't going to be cleared by the NC2A. So he's somebody who's toward the end of the line that if it's going to happen, it's going to have to happen now. How about Taraja Mitchell? I mean, Taraja Mitchell's been here for more than a cup of coffee. I think if you look at a lot of depth charts, he's not, maybe he's on the second team. Maybe he's kind of on that second team, third team cusp. I mean, he was a guy who came in high 4-star type of guy coming out of high school. He had to sit for a couple years behind Ohio State's very locked in linebacker core ahead of him. And now, it's just kind of really been hit or miss. And I think that if he doesn't come out of spring with a really good grade in terms of where he's going to be, I mean, could he be somebody who goes and looks to go do it somewhere else? I mean, is he even in the equation come fall at that point if he doesn't like what he hears? Because the NC2A isn't going to give him that much more eligibility after this. So, I think when it's all said and done, I think that Taraja Mitchell might be the right answer there, but I will put Paula EA in there as well.
Yeah, no, Ote always seems like it's kind of a health issue with him. And then there's also, where does he actually fit in this defense? Because if they're really shifting to more of a 4-2-5 and they're kind of getting rid of that traditional Sam role, that's kind of where Ote has fit in the past. So if that's going away, and then, Cade Stover's kind of in that conversation as well, where, does he kick down to defensive line? Does he fit as into Leo potentially instead of a Sam linebacker? So yeah, there's some different considerations there, but yeah, Mitchell I think is the person who I had in mind when I was asking this question. It's his fifth year now, and the other two guys from his class are both gone, and this seems like sort of your last stand. Like if you were going to win a job, and you've got a new defense, you've got a clean slate with all the coaches, this is your chance. Like this is your time to do it or not do it. So he will be someone who is going to be very interesting to watch this spring. Who to you comes out of this linebacker unit as the big star this fall? Who is the standout linebacker out of this unit this fall?
I think that we saw last year that Steele Chambers was probably the best linebacker that they had, and I think that he's kind of the odds-on favorite. I mean, there's going to be there are a couple young names that I could put on the list as well, and we're going to talk about them here in a minute. So I'll hold on to that there and not go into them, but I think Steele Chambers could be the guy. I mean, I think Cade Stover could be the guy, but at this point, we've seen a lot more of Steele Chambers at the position. I think he's going to be somebody who's going to fit what it is that Ohio State wants to do to a T. And I think things are going to, I mean, I think Steele Chambers has a much more natural position in this 4-2-5 than what Cade Stover does. So I'm going to say Chambers.
Yeah, I think Chambers is probably the pretty clear cut answer here as at least the guy who has the best start or the best trajectory towards stardom right now. Yeah, we'll get to the freshman next, and there are some other acceptable answers here. I mean, Cody Simon. You keep hearing good things about Cody Simon from people inside the program. They obviously believe in him. They played him a lot last year. He was playing with a bum shoulder pretty much all year. That is an important body part if you are a linebacker, is the shoulder, to be able to wrap up players and all that. So we'll see if he, when he's finally back 100%, that's probably more of a summer and fall camp kind of conversation rather than spring ball conversation. I think he might be in that conversation a little bit as well. Mitchell Melton is someone else who I think is just kind of like forgotten here, and maybe he's the one of those people who has the most to gain this spring, where he was a lot like Tyler Friday last year, where he was out all season and everyone just kind of forgot about him, and then now if he's back and he's able to go, let's see where he stands in this linebacker unit, because he came in with a lot of hype, he's got really good size, and it's just a matter of where is he now? He's missed a whole year. What does that look like for him? Here's the next question, and this is the fun one, and your answer is going to be CJ Hicks, and that's totally acceptable, and that's the right answer. There are a couple other answers, but your answer is going to be CJ Hicks. That's okay. Who is the freshman, Kevin Noon, either redshirt or early enrollee, who you were most excited to see at linebacker this spring, and why is it CJ Hicks?
It's CJ Hicks because it's CJ Hicks, and
What?
there's a lot of excitement around him. I could have said Gabe Powers, but Gabe Powers is going to be somebody else that could end up sliding down to defensive line by the time it's all said and done. He falls into that position of being in that room with Paulie Ote and Cade Stover, being that Sam, that traditional Sam. But CJ Hicks is going to be somebody that he can do it all at the high school level. How's it going to look at the college level? We're going to have to see. I mean, he walks around. He already looks like he's got like a college player type of body. I mean, he was able to really shine during his time at Kettering Alter. I think that he's going to be somebody that he is a player that Jim Knowles would have never been able to get near at Oklahoma State. And just to see what Jim Knowles is going to be able to do with somebody like CJ Hicks is going to be incredible. I mean, I think that people need to be realistic in their expectations for a first-year linebacker. There are very few Andy Katzenmoyers that walk in that door. Andy Katzenmoyer played in a different era, was a different type of player. But I think Hicks is going to be somebody who's going to be pushing for playing time right out of the gate. And I think that anybody that goes in at least with some moderate expectations, I think are going to be pleased with what they're going to see out of him.
Yeah, I think he is the very, very obvious answer there. He's the 5-star, top 10 national player coming in this spring. Captain Buckeye, someone we have seen a million times at Ohio Stadium, visiting on game days, and you see him at camps, and you see him in you feel like we've seen CJ Hicks around for so long that it's amazing that this is the first time he's actually officially a part of the program. But yeah, he's a good answer there. You mentioned Gabe Powers. They're starting him at will linebacker, which I thought was interesting. Because you would think of someone who is starting, who we've been talking about for years. Will he play at linebacker? Will he end up playing with his hand in the dirt? You would think of that more of as a Sam backer, like a Naote Ote, like a Cade Stover size. They're starting him at will, so that could change 2 practices in. But it'll be interesting to see where Gabe Powers does end up slotting in at the end of the spring. Last guy, someone who I think another one of those kind of forgotten guys last year, Reed Carrico. He redshirted last year out of Ironton. He traveled with the team a bunch. We saw him at Rutgers, and he was part of the team, and I think he played on some special teams a little bit, but really didn't get a chance to play a lot during the season. He may have just kind of needed that year to sort of bulk up, get a little stronger. But he's someone I think also that I'm kind of intrigued to see, just sort of check in. Where is he now? It's the spring of his second year. This is not a make or break spring for him by any means, but he's someone I'm also kind of interested in seeing this spring. Where do things stand with him? So, all right, last thing, what is the biggest concern here for you coming into the spring for the linebackers?
I'm going to try not to pattern my answer off of our previous show and talking about the defensive line. I mean, it's very easy to sit there and say, how is anybody going to respond to this new system, to what they're doing there? I just want to see how healthy this unit can stay this year based on what we saw last year. I mean, they were down at the very, very end. Reed Carrico traveled because Reed Carrico was one of the few healthy bodies they had. And, he had to make a huge transition from playing in Ironton, playing small division Ohio high school football to get ready to go play in the Big Ten. And it was going to take a little bit of time. But how are they going to are they going to have the bodies that they need at this point, especially if you have guys like Cody Simon, who may, not be full go for all of spring, things along those lines. You have Jim Knowles, who is specifically going to spearhead linebackers. That's going to be his position duty. I certainly think that it's going to be a matter of that you're going to have to do things right because the professor is watching you. I mean, you're not going to be able to kind of just get through it and then come around and test well for the final. I mean, you're not in some TA's group. You've got the full professor there watching you. So how are they going to be able to pick up the things that are going to be asked of them? How is, if they are running more of a base 4-2-5, how are they going to be able to make sure in terms of a defense that they get their best 11 out there and are able to accomplish the goals that are set forward for them? And just how are they going to be able to get the stank of 21 off of themselves? Because it just, from 1 to 11 in terms of the defense, it was just not a very good year. So, don't buy into what last year was. You're only as good as the last game you played. You're only as good as your current season. How do you move past that and get back to something that Ohio State fans and the Ohio State program itself is much more accustomed to?
The linebackers are interesting because it feels like in some ways they might be the unit that has the biggest potential upgrade this year, both in terms of just having more bodies, guys staying healthy, potentially avoiding some of the drama that was around that room last year, and potentially getting, now you've got some of these guys, Steele Chambers will have a full spring and summer. You've got some other guys, you've got some new bodies in that room, you've got some maybe more athletic guys in that room who might be able to fit what they're trying to do a little bit better. So that seems like the linebackers might be the position group that has the opportunity for the biggest growth from last year to this year. If it happens, and with Professor Jim Knowles standing there, it very well might happen. That would probably be a very, very good thing for this year's Ohio State team. So that'll do it for today. We will have more. Kevin will be back in a couple days. We're going to talk some defensive backs then, but we'll have plenty of other shows coming up as well. You can find all of them wherever you're finding this show. You can just search Buckeye Scoop to find all of our great podcasts. Buckeye Weekly that Tony Gerdeman and I do, Big Meat Kickoff that Kevin does, the Gives in the Bank podcast that Mark Givler and Bill DeBank Green do, Around the Oval with Alex Gleitman. You can find them all on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, Outcast, you name it. They're all there. Just search Buckeye Scoop to find all of them. You can subscribe right there. Leave us a 5-star rating and review as well. And then if you prefer to watch us on YouTube, we're at youtube.com/Buckeye Scoop. Again, if you can hit the thumbs up button when you're watching our videos, that will help other folks find those as well, which we do genuinely appreciate. And then hit that bell, subscribe to our channel, and they get notified every time we post a new video so you never miss a thing. That'll do it for today. Thank you guys all for joining us. Have a great day. We'll talk to you tomorrow.